Hi everyone, and welcome to this edition of Sled Talk. My name is Jarrett Smith, Snowmobile Product Manager for the North American Snowmobile Division. Today I have a fun vlog for you. We're not looking at current product. As you can see, we're looking at a couple older snowmobiles. These are both from my collection, and I want to share a story with you how this one recently came into my possession and how I found it. If you recall this sled right here, this is a 2002 SRX. About a year or so ago, in one of our COVID videos, when we were announcing changes with our SPS program and adapting to all the challenges that currently were going on at that time, I introduced you to this snowmobile. I bought it sometime last year, and I was really happy to have the sled. And in that video, I explained how previously I owned a 2000 SRX, and I always missed the sled. I wish I never sold it. But at that time, we were riding more and more miles, traveling longer distances, and the 2000 just beat me up. It didn't have the suspension of the newer snowmobiles at the time, and it was time to upgrade. So I sold my 2000, and ever since then, I regretted selling it. I always wanted to have another SRX. So for many years, I was looking for an SRX. It actually took me 3+ years to find this snowmobile. If you recall, even in the 2019 launch video, we had a 2000 SRX that we drag raced against a 2019. I actually rode that 2000 for all of that video. So a customer of ours let us borrow that snowmobile for the filming of that video. And at that time, I still didn't own one. So it really just kind of fueled me even more to find one. So I was lucky enough to find this one last year. After many years of looking, it's a really clean example of a 2002. They're coming harder and harder to find now. So that being said, you understand where this sled came from. You understand my desire to buy another SRX based on me having one way back many years ago. And that'll bring me to this sled. So this is a 2000 SRX. Like many of you watching the video, I'm always online looking at snowmobiles, primarily older Yamahas, browsing Kijiji, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, and a couple months ago I stumbled on this sled. So it's a 2000 SRX, and when I started looking at it a little closer, I started seeing things that triggered my memory of my old snowmobile. Things like the rear suspension, things like some of the decals and some of the track configuration stuff, and then I quickly realized this was actually my old sled. So it was for sale on Facebook Marketplace. I contacted the guy that owned it. I made an appointment to come see it. Luckily, it was still available, and I ended up buying that sled. So a cool story. I sold this sled in 2009. I sold it, and then it looks like around 2 months later, the guy I sold it flipped it and sold it to this gentleman. So it's the first time that this sled has come for sale in over 10 years since I sold it. And it has some neat history. So this sled, when I had it back then, I actually did some pretty unique changes, which is why I could identify it right away. The rear suspension is actually an XCSP out of another brand. At that time, I also switched it to a 1-inch hacksaw track, did a little different stud configuration on the back. The guy that I sold it to wanted it stock, so at that time I had some other Bender parts on it, but I converted it primarily stock engine-wise. I left a roller rooster secondary on it, so it's got a roller rooster secondary clutch. It's geared differently. I actually geared it down for 660-foot snow drags at the time. So it's I believe it's got 2238 gearing in it. It's a really great corner-to-corner accelerating sled. And then just some unique decals and stuff like that. So it was crazy that after all those years, I was able to find this sled. When I sold it, it was immaculate. It was really clean when I sold it. As you can see now, it's had some miles on it. It's got about 10,000 more K since I sold it, so around 6,000 miles. Windshield's different, handlebar pad's different. The seat needs some work. The seat unfortunately has torn, and it needs a little bit of here and there, but it's a great candidate for restoration. I'm super happy to have this sled back after all those years, because this sled for me really introduced me to that level of Yamaha refined performance that I'd never seen on other snowmobiles before. I had Enticers and other Yamahas that introduced me to Yamaha to begin with, but this one really enforced my love of Yamaha, and that the feeling of this sled coming out of the corner, that triple, and how smooth the power this thing was. This really emphasized all of the key attributes to a Yamaha that make it a Yamaha. So we have a ton of people out there that love triples, that love two-strokes. I read all your comments and all of our posts on either Facebook or on different forums where you guys are just in love with triples and two-strokes, and I love them too. But there's a reason I got away from it from my everyday sled. Just the suspension's not the same as some of these newer sleds and the newer SRXs that are out there. So these sleds for me will be, the nice groom trail days, farmers fields like these when it's perfectly smooth and groomed. It's great to take these out for a Saturday afternoon, put some miles on, and just kind of relive that triple feeling. I don't necessarily think I'll put a 200-mile day on them, but I love taking them out the odd day when the trails are super smooth. So I wanted to show you guys these two sleds. I'm super happy to have this one back and own this sled again after 10 years of not having it. And it's cool just to find my actual snowmobile. So with this vlog, we wanted to see what you guys have going on. It's coming to summer now. If you're a diehard snowmobiler like me, you're thinking about snow and snowmobiles all summer. So what projects are you working on over the summer? What vintage sleds do you have? And what stories do you have like this? What sled do you wish you never sold, or what sled got away from you? And then did you have the chance to get it back? I'm really happy to have this one back in my collection. So hopefully now that the season's over, you guys can share some of your comments, share your stories with us. We'll be happy to read them, whether it be in the comments or on YouTube comments. We watch both of them. So thanks for joining today. Have a great and safe summer, and we'll see you guys soon.